In our first class, we talked about expressions, and we highlighted the three unique expressions of algebra. We talked about the verbal, the numerical, and the algebraic. We found out that in numerical ones we can simplify by performing the operations in a certain manner. We could evaluate algebraic by substituting in values for variables and then simplifying. And then that's all led us to a discussion on translations where we found those phrases and words that help us translate those into algebra. Today our focus is going to be on order of operations, something I'm sure you're all familiar with. And we're going to highlight different grouping symbols in the process. When we see expressions that contain more than one operation, we have to have a way to get to the end result so that we're not confused by how to do the problem. And we call that order of operations, so that we could be working side by side, and if we follow the rules, we'll get the same end result. In this problem, we think about, I'm sure you remember, PEMDAS. I would multiply before I add, so I'm going to go to this problem, and I will multiply first, bring everything down. Lastly, I'll add, and I will get the simplified version of that expression to be 13. Now, the order in which we do things does affect the values, so we do want to follow, again, a certain set of rules, which we call PEMDAS. We're going to work also using this left to right rule when it comes to multiply and divide and add, subtract. It doesn't matter which I do. It doesn't have to be multiplied before divide. It matters that the divide in this case comes first. So I'm going to divide. I then will multiply, and you'll see the end result here is 8. Same thing is true with add, subtract. Just because the word add is before subtract doesn't mean that that's the order to follow. Those go together with the left to right rule. So I will get 12 plus 4. And when I combine those and simplify them, I get an answer of 16. Simple rules to follow. And they can get more involved. We talked about wanting to simplify a problem to avoid confusion. So we are going to look for those grouping symbols. We call parentheses, but technically it could be parentheses, brackets, or fraction bar. The second thing we'll look for is exponents, followed by your multiply and divide using the left to right rule. Then we'll do the add, subtract using the left to right rule. And again, I highlight, always use your left to right rule. Pause the video and try these two problems, and then join me to see how you did. I'm going to start with my exponents and bring everything else down. After my exponents, I look for multiply and divide. I have a multiply, so I have 9 plus 4 minus 4. And then I combine that, and I'll get 13 minus 4. And that'll lead me to 9. Every once in a while, you can do some things out of order and you'll get the same answer. But if you follow the rules, you'll be sure to get it right all the time. Parentheses is the first thing I notice in this problem. I will do what's in the parentheses first. I'll then square 7. 7 times 7, 49. I now keep using my left to right rule. This will give me 46 plus 5, and I hope that we agree that our final answer here would be 51. Let's move on. Try these problems. There's going to be 3 on this slide. These are the first two, and then I'll scroll for the third. You can pause the video, copy these in your notebook, and give them a try. When you're done with these two, I will scroll for the third. We'll go over the answers to these three in class because I'd like to do them step by step with you, especially since there are multiple operations involved. So I mentioned two sets of grouping symbols, the parentheses and the brackets. You want to work with your innermost grouping, and in this case it's parentheses. Then I'll simplify what's within the brackets, and then I'll use the rest of my order of operations. So if it says do what's in the parentheses first, I'm going to have 2 bracket, all right, 2 times whatever this quantity is going to be. 5 minus 3 is 2. And whatever that is, then I'm going to subtract 8. So the first thing I did was I worked within the parentheses. I still have a grouping here, so I'm going to simplify what's in the brackets. And as you see, what I'm doing is spelled out in the steps on the left. I'm then going to multiply. And my last step, you can see, is subtract. And my simplified expression was 212. Again, it's a step-by-step process. It's like doing a puzzle, one thing at a time. And I did mention another grouping symbol, and that's called the fraction bar. When I see a fraction bar, that tells me that I want to perform all the operations on the top. 5 squared is 25 plus 2, and that's divided by 3 squared. This is going to lead me to 27 over 9, and 27 divided by 9 is going to give me a simplified answer of 3. There is a lot of practice that comes with this because the problems starting off simple can get more detailed. So you will do some practice, and I'm going to end our lesson for today. Have a great weekend. I hope you had a good first week.